You know the story of Adam and Eve, right? It's probably the most famous origin story on the planet. A tale of creation, temptation, and a fall from grace that has literally shaped cultures for thousands of years. But what if that story isn't the original? What if it's a copy? A simplified, maybe even deliberately changed version of a much, much older truth. So let's do this. Let's peel back the layers of myth, of language, of ancient history, and really dig into a wild possibility that our most foundational story might just be hiding a cosmic secret right out in the open. Okay, so the first big clue, the first breadcrumb on this trail, it comes from a single idea that pops up everywhere, all over the world. It's the very first step in our own creation story. Now, we've all heard this one, right? From the book of Genesis, humanity's ancestor, Adam, is made from the dust, the soil, the clay of the earth. It sounds like this one-of-a-kind divine moment, but, well, it's not.
Here's where it gets wild. This isn't just an Abrahamic idea. We're talking the Sumerians in Mesopotamia, the Greeks with Prometheus, the goddess Nua over in China, the Hopi in the Americas. I mean, cultures that had zero contact with each other all came up with the exact same core belief. The first humans were made from the earth. I mean, how is that even possible? Unless, of course, they were all pulling from the same ancient, forgotten source.
To figure this out, we need to go way back to the civilization that kind of wrote the book on these foundational myths, the Sumerians. And the key here is to stop thinking literally and start thinking symbolically. Okay, so here's the decoder ring. When these ancient texts talk about clay or soil, they're not talking about making mud pies. They're using it as a symbol for the raw biological stuff of a planet, the physical essence of that world's native life. In our terms today, we'd call it a genetic blueprint. We'd call it DNA. And that idea takes us straight to the Sumerian story. Their texts talk about these advanced beings, the Anunnaki, who came to Earth and needed workers. To get the job done, their story says they created a primitive worker by taking the clay of Earth, the genetic material of a hominid that was already here, and upgrading it, mixing it with their own divine essence. And the process they describe? It's shockingly biological. It's not magic. It's almost like a lab report. First, the wisdom god, Enki, he prepares the genetic cocktail. Then, a mother goddess, Ninhursag, shapes it. The texts say she literally puts it in her own womb, gestates it, and gives birth to the first human, who they called Adapa. It was a biological process. So, if Adam is basically Adapa, then what about Eve? We all know the famous story, God takes a rib from Adam to create his partner. But check this out. The original Sumerian story, which is thousands of years older, isn't about creation at all. It's about healing. The god Enki has a sick rib, and a goddess is created just to heal that rib. So, how on earth does a story about a sore rib turn into a story about creating the first woman? Well, the answer is this brilliant, little ancient pun that got completely lost in translation. In the Sumerian language, the word ti, it had a double meaning. It meant rib, yes, but it also meant life. So the goddess created to heal the rib, Ninti, could be called the Lady of the Rib. But her name also meant the Lady of Life. So when Hebrew scribes adapted the story millennia later, they kept the rib part, but they also played on that second meaning. Adam's partner, Eve, her name literally means she who makes life. A healing story got twisted into a creation story because of a simple translation quirk. And believe me, the rabbit hole goes deeper. The next part of the story, the serpent, the forbidden fruit, the whole getting kicked out of paradise thing, that also has a dramatic parallel in the Sumerian texts. Think about the serpent for a second. Today, we think evil, temptation, right? But for most of ancient history, it was the complete opposite. All over the world, the serpent was a symbol of wisdom, of knowledge, of enlightenment. And in Sumer, it was the symbol of the very same god who supposedly engineered us, Enki, the god of wisdom. So, why did this positive symbol of knowledge suddenly become the bad guy? See, in the Sumerian version, the fall isn't about some forbidden fruit. It's a cosmic power struggle between two Anunnaki leaders, Enki, who kind of had a soft spot for his creation, humanity, and his brother Enlil, who just saw us as slaves. The real conflict was about knowledge. The serpent, representing Enki, wanted to give us the knowledge to be independent, to be like the gods. But Enlil wanted to keep us ignorant and obedient. The sin wasn't eating an apple. It was a rebellion for enlightenment. But hold on, there's another character in this drama.
a forgotten one, someone who is almost completely written out of the story. Adam's first wife.
Yeah, long before Eve, ancient Jewish folklore says there was Lilith. And unlike Eve, who was made from Adam's rib, making her secondary to him, Lilith was created at the exact same time from the exact same soil. Because of that, she refused to be subservient. She demanded to be treated as an equal. And when Adam refused, she uttered a secret name of God and flew right out of the garden, choosing freedom over paradise.
And her story is just a masterclass in how you can control a narrative over time. It's a character assassination that took millennia. She starts out in Sumer as this wild, independent spirit, but as patriarchal systems grew, her story got twisted. She was turned into a demon, a stealer of babies, basically a warning to any woman who dared demand equality. Eve, the obedient woman made from man, became the role model. Lilith, the equal, became the monster. Okay, so this is all fascinating mythology, right? But what if it's more than that? What if these ancient stories are pointing to one of the biggest unsolved puzzles in human evolution? You see, scientists have this mystery they call the Great Leap Forward. For hundreds of thousands of years, our species, Homo sapiens, we were around. And then, boom! Around 50,000 to 70,000 years ago, we just exploded with culture, art, complex language, abstract thought. The change was so fast and so deep, it looks less like slow evolution and more like a sudden software update. And science doesn't have a solid explanation for why. Now, to be clear, this isn't about throwing out evolution. Not at all. Think of it this way. What if the Sumerian story isn't a replacement for evolution, but an explanation for that weird anomaly? What if it's a symbolic description of the catalyst, of a deliberate intervention that grabbed a pre-existing hominid and just accelerated its development, sparking that great leap forward?
And that really brings this whole idea full circle. The myths could be seen as a symbolic memory of that scientific anomaly, an existing creature being upgraded, having the image of the gods bound upon it. They gave us their essence, triggering our sudden explosion in intelligence and creativity.
So that leaves us with one last massive question. Are these just stories? Or are they fragmented symbolic memories of our own creation, a history of a cosmic event passed down through the millennia, just waiting for us to finally decode it? The answer, whatever it is, might just change everything we think we know about who we are and where we really come from.